So hey, talk to you about a topic today. Pretty much talk about posture. In CrossFit we do a lot of overhead work that requires a large amount of shoulder or overhead flexibility. And the posture is a really big game changer that I think is quite often overlooked in how significant or how dramatic a change it can make to keeping you injury free and actually freeing up a lot of the range of motion that might be restricted. So day-to-day lives, we spend a lot of time, all of us, working at computers, driving, and we end up in this very kind of rounded upper back position. Now, there's a couple of things behind that little trusty diagram here. I'm going to help explain that. There's basically two general categories of shoulder stability. So you get passive stability from the ligaments in the joint capsule, inert structures that don't actually contract, that generally stabilise your shoulder when you're not really moving it. So when your arms are just by your side, this capsule and these ligaments help to prevent the ball from dropping out the socket. Now what happens is that the scapula or shoulder blade right here, we just draw it as this triangle, are where the socket kind of originates from. So where that glenoid fossa, that socket originates from. And the scapula follows the contour of the rib cage, or in other words, your thoracic spine, or your upper back, where your ribs attach. So the more round we become, the more anteriorly tilted or drop down the scap is, and also the more downwardly rotated, or in other words, downwardly rotated like that. And what that means is that the socket ends up getting pointed downwards. When this happens, we lose, just draw the ball here, we lose tension in the top of our joint capsule, or the ligaments that would normally stop that ball from subluxing end up in a slack position. So the body won't just let that happen, and what it does is the rotator cuff, which is basically like a group of small muscles that help suck the ball into the socket, have to come on and contract to prevent the ball from subluxing. Normally, your rotator cuff are the muscles that stabilise the shoulder and keep the ball in the socket when you reach overhead. So now suddenly they're having to work just to stop the ball from subluxing, and effectively in a resting position or in a seated position. So if you're someone that's worked at a desk for 7 hours a day, like this, with no ligament stability because of your rounded back posture, your cuff has been working all that time just to stabilise your shoulder. If you then go and do an overhead workout with a lot of shoulders overhead or kettlebell rooms and that kind of stuff, your rotator cuff's already pre-fatigued, and it means that just like if someone asks you to do Fran over and over again, eventually your mechanic's going to break down, you'll be liable to impinge. So if you ever do this test, it's really simple. If you round your back, try and reach as far as you can overhead. And you'll find that you can't, ultimately, and that inevitably you'll get what's called impingement, which is just where the structures between this kind of shelf of your shoulder, the acromion process, and the ball, the head of your humerus here, get pinched. And that's pretty much it. Also, this forward head posture, this kind of pokey chin posture, the more that happens, the more it shortens the muscles that downwardly rotate that scapula, so it just exaggerates the problem and prevents you. You require upward rotation of your shoulder blade to point the socket upwards so you can also reach all the way overhead. So these downward rotator muscles are shortened, the upward rotator ones are obviously in a lengthened and weak position and less kind of able to do that. So that's just a quick way, and again, this posture is a big kind of contributing factor. That being said though, is that as soon as we get into that chest upright, bit of a thoracic extended externally rotated position, suddenly a lot of overhead motion will open up to you. So my advice to you is that is to be a detective of your posture, catch yourself when you're dropping into this position, break up periods of prolonged sitting, and especially when you actually come to overhead activities, is be more conscious of chest up. We say it for a reason when we're coaching. So and this is one of those reasons. So again, physiotherapy can help a lot with restoring posture, restoring those joint mechanics, stretching out the downward rotators of the scapula, and helping improve that motor control of the ball inside the socket, and really taking off the strain in the rotator cuff, and allowing it to work more effectively. We'll see you next time. See ya.